Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Paradoxic, and welcome back to Doctor Who. This time we're continuing the 12th season with episode 2, which is Spyfall Part 2. Watching it live again this weekend, managing to catch it live for this reaction. But yeah, the first episode was amazing. The first episode was such a great watch. I think it started off very, very well, and it's a great start to the season overall. And it showed us a good enough amount of what we're up against so far. I don't think we're going to be sticking with these aliens for like the remainder of the for the remainder of the season. We're going to be coming up against other aliens, maybe some other returning faces. But speaking of returning faces, a character definitely did return from the past. We had the actor. I actually know his name now. Is Sacha Dhawan. I pray to God I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Sacha Dhawan returned, but he came returned as the Master. This time the Master is actually back. But he was in Doctor Who before, back when the 50th celebration stuff was going on. They did like a bunch of different things, like, and one of them was like a documentary about how Doctor Who started, called An Adventure in Space and Time. So he actually played one of the directors in that one, and he was also in Iron Fist. He was Davos. For any of you who watched the Iron Fist series, he was Davos in that. But I did also manage to recognize him from the role he played in An Adventure in Space and Time. So I don't know if he's actually been in Doctor Who itself before in the show, but he is a great British actor. I've seen him in the new Dracula as well. I think I saw like a clip of him in the new Dracula series. He's been in a bunch of different stuff, and he's just a really kind of great actor and guy overall. So to see him as the Master in this, he got a lot of positive reception for his role as the Master. I think seeing him as the Master, I think he actually pulled off that kind of like that kind of goofy maniac type of stance as the Master off quite well, really. Like someone who's, you know, I think as the Master we know him to be like an evil guy and stuff, but then with this one it's like, you know, they're like, I think it felt like in some sense like the classic Master we know of, like the evil versions, like the John Sim evil version we know of is still there. Like that's what he's managing to pull off, but at the same time it's like there's an element of like Joker to him almost, like when he was like jumping around, clapping and laughing, and then, you know, just like gloating about how he compressed the real O's figure into a teeny Matchbox figure, and then he stole his body and all that sort of stuff. There's like an element of Joker to him, like the Doctor is Batman and the Master is Joker. Like there's that kind of a dynamic between them. So that was cool to see, but even the Doctor was just surprised and shocked that he came back. But that was definitely a reveal out of nowhere, especially for the first episode. But we are lucky it was only a few days that we only had to live with that reveal, since it was a New Year's Day episode. So only a few days until until the rest of the show came round for the actual Sunday slot. So I think now we are back to like a weekly schedule for Doctor Who. So now it is back to a once a week on a Sunday kind of schedule. So yeah, but we did have the new aliens. So I mean, we don't really have a name for them yet. We don't really know exactly why they're here. They did say that they're ready now to take over the universe and stuff. But they are. I think they do seem to be from another dimension, because they did say that the form that we see, the one that's especially the one that's looks like it's made of light and stuff, and it looks kind of humanoid. It's not their true form, and they take that form because it amuses them. It's the human form which amuses them, and they're trying to mock humanity with that form. But it does seem like they come from like another universe or like another dimension of some sort, and we did see a glimpse of it when at first Yaz was sent there by the aliens, and then she was sent back after little lights coming down from the tubes and whatnot started filling her up, and then they teleported her back to Earth. So knowing, I think it's unlikely she didn't come back with something. I think, you know, because I think knowing what happened with the other guy, with Daniel Barton, the IT guy, he was only like 93% human. So, you know, odds are the same thing or something similar happened to him, and then over time his humanity, or his human DNA started decreasing. Maybe more alien stuff started happening to him than human stuff. So I think it's maybe fair enough to say that the same thing happened to Yaz as well. Like she came back, but maybe not all of her came back, or maybe she came back with something from that dimension that from now on, over time, will slowly start decreasing the human side of her. So I think that will like story-wise, that's going to serve as like a very, I think, like an emotional driving factor. Like maybe she recognizes the symptoms at first, but she doesn't really tell anyone, or maybe the doctor finds out, or I don't know. But I mean, the doctor did get sent by the aliens there at the end of the episode as well, and she seemed to have like some kind of recognition of the place. She was like, "Oh God, no, not here," or something along those lines. So, but I feel like the doctor, like she's not really going to be as frozen or as starstruck as Yaz was when she was sent there. So I feel like she might be able to come up with some kind of solution as to how to get back to her own universe before being zapped up by the lights again. So yeah, but we'll see exactly how that stuff goes. But but Yaz and Graham and Ryan are in the plane, and the plane was the cockpit, I believe. Is it the cockpit? I believe the cockpit, I think, well, just the front of the plane was blown apart by a bomb where Daniel Barton was supposed to be sitting, but he wasn't there. A bomb was in his place, so that blew that part up. So now the plane is crashing down into land or sea, or maybe even a mixture of both in some weird sense. But yeah, it was one hell of an explosive kind of season opener. Definitely, just like, I think this one definitely gives me a better feeling than how Jodie's actual introductory season actually opened up. This one, I think, with that one, I think it made sense because it was a nice introductory kind of opener for the Doctor itself. But with this one, it gives us a glimpse of what an actual series with this Doctor would be like, what a story arc would be like, what kind of what kind of plotline we could be dealing with, what kind of issues we could be dealing with the Master back then. That in the past, that's presented all sorts of different kind of dilemmas. So that one, seeing Jodie's Doctor coming up against the Master again is going to be a real fun thing to see. Which incarnation of the Doctor of the Master we're facing here, I think, is a bit of a question, because I think some people have theorized that it could be one between John and Missy's Master, between Johnson and Missy's Master. I think maybe it could be someone after Missy, because we saw John, I think we saw John Sims' version getting ready to regenerate after Missy stabbed him, but Missy's was injured as well. I think he shot her at the end, the Doctor, at the end of that finale, the Doctor Falls. But I don't think we saw her regenerating, but I think maybe that's something that, like, they never planned, like that maybe there's something that they kept hidden, or maybe it's something that they didn't really plan for, but then now Chris Chibnall wants to, bring in that little surprise, like, oh, you never saw it happen on camera, but it happened behind closed doors, like she managed to get away somehow, and she managed to regenerate into someone new, and then, but even then, it's like, this version of the Master, like Satchers, he took on O's form. That wasn't even his original form. He ambushed O on his first day to work, and then compressed him into a little miniature figure, and then assumed his actual appearance, and then infiltrated MI6 as O, as himself. So what his original face was, we have no idea. But I do hope Satcher himself actually sticks around to play the Master. I think I'd like to see how he does in that kind of a run. He's playing Davos on Iron Fist 2, he's very well proven that he can definitely handle a villainous role, and he can handle the role of an antagonist, and I think it would just be a nice step up from Davos to the Master as well, like one of the bigger kind of sci-fi villains and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it all gets pulled off. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, I think we'll see how things actually go from here. I'm watching the live stream, so just waiting for the episode to actually start on that end. But yeah, I think it's started off being a pretty cool season. I think I watched I only watched the last trailer for it once, a couple of months before the season actually started. So it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff actually goes down. But yeah, that's just me sitting here milking my words over and over again, just hoping to, keep the talking going until the episode starts. But no, that is pretty much all I've got. So yeah, okay. So episode 2, Spyfall Part 2. Let's go.
First of all, you're not gonna die. Second of all, don't talk back to the screens. Obviously, I'm a recording and I can't hear you.
Oh god, this has Blink written all over it. Yeah. Oh, such blank nostalgia.
Don't talk back to the screens. Haven't got long. The bomb in the cockpit. Kasaavin.
Kasaavin. Okay, that's got some significance clearly. Is that what they are? Are they Kasaavin?
This is my guardian.
I highly doubt that, love. Oh crap, his cabin is a TARDIS! Oh, of course it is. Of course his cabin is a TARDIS.
I am bound never to reveal my secrets.
The magician never reveals her tricks.
Knowing that you may tell people you were privileged to witness the marvelous apparating man. Lady.
Woman.
Apparating lady.
Lady.
Every time.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh shit.
shrinking
It's
device.
him.
To be smaller ladies.
The shrinking device. Oh, what he used on O, I presume.
Who's next?
Yeah.
Go Ada.
Did you just move?
Oh god.
Did you move?
Oh,
Beg your pardon.
oh just
Master.
son of a bitch.
Master.
By the way, I bring news from home.
Down, Doctor!
From home? I'm sorry, what? From home?
Designed for use by a young lady.
Oh, shut up.
And yet I find myself more than capable.
Yeah. Oof.
Ada, I really do not approve.
No, she doesn't do guns.
Doctor.
It will count and perform quadratic equations.
If you're Charles Babbage,
So it's like a
then you're
calculator?
not just any old Ada. You're Ada Lovelace.
Ada
Daughter of
Lovelace?
Lord Byron. This is your plan. It is fraught with risk. Where there's risk, there's hope.
Arguably. Oh, deep breath. Yeah. Oh, Ada went back with her?
Ryan's right. We carry on doing what the doc would want us to do.
Sorry, did you just say Ryan's right?
Yes, I did. Enjoy the moment, son. You won't hear it often.
Are you wearing the laser shoes?
I might be.
He's wearing the laser shoes.
What? I forgot to read the instructions. Well, we was in a rush.
Well, you point and shoot. What's instructions got to do with it?
Cufflinks?
Rocket cufflinks.
Fair, I didn't read the instruction on those either.
Oh.
Yeah, the pair of you got a couple of donuts. But there's no one I'd rather be on the run with.
Well, they're the doctor's donuts, so.
Just landed. Concussion. Humour me. Paris.
Second World War. Second World frickin' War.
It's a patrol.
Oh shit.
Inside, quick.
Is that Hitler? No. No, it's the Master. It's the Master. Oh, there we go. Yeah, just stamp it. Oh, so it actually comes out the front? It comes out the toe punt? It just taunts, yeah?
Does she realise that I'm one of the most successful men on the planet? I've changed the world.
Right, successful men, because we're definitely on a shortage of those, aren't
What
we?
do I have to do?
Well done.
Whoa! What's he doing to his own mother? What the hell kind of son are you? Doesn't really fit the Nazi agenda though, does he? Not the kind of ideals they follow. Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, please miss, please miss, please miss, please miss, please miss. Please tell me they missed Ada and the doctor. I don't want Ada to be sacrificed in this in any way.
You are a lifesaver.
Okay, so they were closer to her then. Okay, they were closer to her.
This is the most advanced laser shoe known to man. Ain't worth the resistance, lads. Guns down and on the front.
Yeah, otherwise he's gonna dance you into disintegration. Oh, the heartbeat of the Time Lord. Yeah, the 4 beats.
The rhythm of two hearts.
Mm-hmm. The heartbeat of a Time Lord.
I can sense him.
Or like Time Lord telepathy. Time Lords have telepathy?
Old school.
You're not the only one who can do classic.
Okay, so this is from Classic Who then. Okay.
You're not exactly their Aryan archetype.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Tiny to tonic psychic perception filter. Learned it at school. Lets people see what they want to
Ah, so he looks like a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes.
He killed his own mum.
And left her here.
No, they must have done the same thing to her, actually turning her less human and more alien. More Kasaavin.
see. I took a trip home. To Gallifrey.
He went back to
Wide in
Gallifrey.
This little bubble universe.
But still in a bubble
I'm not
universe.
sure how to describe what I found. Pulverized. Burned.
What?
Nuked. Someone destroyed it. Our home.
Someone destroyed Gallifrey?
You're lying.
You should really take a look.
Wait, did you destroy it?
You won't be able to. I just thought I'd let you know before I...
Did he destroy
Can
it?
you hear voices? Sending Nazi information to the British.
Uh-huh. Oh, they're coming after him. They think he's a traitor.
Easy to jam.
Ah.
See the real you. Time to go lockpicking.
I'm loving this little trio. I'm loving this little time cross trio.
What is a computer?
Oh, forget you heard that word.
Spoiler
I
alert.
just disrupted the whole orchestra again.
Oh no, don't pick it up, don't answer it, don't reply, just ignore it, swipe it across. Just ignore it.
All that's needed is to reformat the whole of humanity.
Jesus fuck it, this is...
Luckily, there's an app for that.
They're all inside the silver... Oh, they're going through the phones! The laptop! The paralysis, they're being sent to the dimension.
Will remain.
No, not so much. Not so much.
Tina,
Not so much. The time trio, the time warp trio are in. Yeah.
I think that might have been me.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, wireless mouse are the problem. Wireless mice are the
Two
problem.
can play it embedding thing. If it ever detected the massing of a Kasaavin army within its systems, total shutdown.
So like a short, like a fuse, basically. Yeah.
Barton and those creatures do the dirty work.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sweet, sweet recording.
Breaks in the process.
Yeah. What was that, Master? Yeah. Oh, they're angry with him now. They're angry with him now. Oh, now he's in their dimension. No TARDIS, just you.
The plane. Oh, I forgot.
Oh, you have to make sure she actually does it so they don't get erased from the timeline for never having been saved in the first place.
Doors, haven't you? That's vital.
Yeah.
The doors are designed to be incredibly robust.
Yeah, photoshopping that shit together.
I love a laminator.
Nah.
But I want that knowledge. But don't take it away. Please don't take it away.
Oh, it's like Donna all over again.
You don't need a preview. Computers start with you. Sweet dreams, Ada Lovelace.
She's gonna do great things. Although I will admit I've heard of her name before, but I had no idea what like her significance in history was. So now it's good, a history lesson with Doctor Who. Is he telling the truth? Whoa, he was telling the truth! God damn! Gallifrey's gone again!
When I said someone did that,
You meant you. It was him.
obviously I meant
You.
I did. Whole existence of our species built on the lie of the timeless child.
The Timeless Child! We heard that one! Yeah, we heard that one before.
Do you see it? But why would I make it easy for you?
Oh, you son of a bitch.
It wasn't for me.
There's only you two left now. Oh, God, Jesus.
Questions?
Plenty. Or not.
Loads.
Plenty, yeah,
Can we
plenty.
visit it? Your home? Another time.
Yeah. It's not exactly the top tourist spot among galaxies right now. Okay, so that was a nice continuation to the two-parter of that Spyfall was. Continuing the thing with the Spyfall with having met Nor-Inayat My penmanship is horrible when I'm rushing through my notes, but Noor Inayat something, the World War II spy that we met, the one who I think she was a British spy, but she wasn't actually British, but she was still doing her part or something. I believe something along those lines. But yeah, I think that's something that was actually I always love kind of seeing like the Doctor. She's always like she's known to have like be very, very fond and protective of the Earth, and she's always been vocal about it. Like she will protect the Earth and humanity to her last breath. But I think what like emphasizes and what kind of sticks that fact in even more is when she gets all fangirly and like all like the little historical nerd in her kind of jumps out whenever she meets historical figures. We've had it happen all across the show with like meeting Agatha Christie and Shakespeare and Charles Dickens and all of this stuff, and now like meeting Ada Lovelace, I believe her name was. And Ada Lovelace, I mean, well, when this she I think she was Ada Gordon, so I think she wasn't really Lovelace yet, and she hadn't actually begun her work with computers yet. But Ada Lovelace, it was a name I had heard of, not to the extent of actually knowing, you know, who like what the person had done or who exactly the person was. But Ada Lovelace was I was aware it was a name significant to history, but the reason for said significance I wasn't too sure of. But now I know that she did have something to do with the actual the historical development of computers. So again, Doctor Who kind of like taking the time to actually go. I mean, this wasn't nearly like the like an in-depth historical kind of session. It was just merely like it had the mention and the glimpse at these historical characters, and they were working with the Doctor. But I think, you know, obviously we had one of the biggest historical figure episodes in Jodie's first season with Rosa Parks, unarguably the biggest episode of the season, that focused entirely on the whole Rosa Parks kind of history and her significance to the civil rights movement and stuff. So that was like one of her biggest moments. But with this one, I think with this one it was more like, they kind of they introduce the figure. They have like a little bit of like a brief kind of explanation as to like what the person's done and why the Doctor's so fond of them and why she's so excited to meet them. And then they had the rest of the episode, the Doctor working with said figure to actually save the day and solve the mystery and all that stuff. So with this one, I think that was one of my more kind of favored aspects of the episode, like the whole kind of that kind of time crossed trio element, like the Doctor working with Ada and working with Noor as well, all having their own strengths and stuff, and working together to get the Doctor back to her time and to stop the Kasaavin, I believe their name is. But we were introduced to but Ada, she's a badass as well, like saving the Doctor from the Master with the steam gun and with the home grenade, like just a badass move overall. But she was from 1834 and Noor was from 1943. So yeah, but both of whom were Ada was Ada was involved in the very earlier stages of the development of computers and stuff. And I think Charles Babbage was there as well. I think in my head I keep saying it as Charles Cabbage, but then like there's like a kind of split-second translation going on from the thought happening in my head to the actual output of that in my from my lips, and it's like Charles Cabbage. It's like it turns into Charles Cabbage halfway through, and then it's like nope, Charles Babbage. He came up with the difference machine, and he said it could like do complex like algorithms and like calculations and stuff. So my first thought was, wait, so it's like the world's first like calculator, or like one of the world's first calculators? But I think maybe something along that line, and maybe him and I think she said the Doctor told Ada to wait a few years until she meets like an Earl or something. So maybe she uses the difference machine and then maybe her own research and her own notes to actually help her further along the development of the computer. So she is one of the people to thank. So she's a very intellectually capable woman and helping the Doctor save the day from the Master, and Noor as well, using her tech to actually help the Doctor get the message across. And she was also, I think, the first female British spy, or like the first female spy the Brits used during the war, or like something along those lines. But both ladies had their significance in history, and it was briefly mentioned in this episode. But they both had their parts to play, and they played it well. So that was cool. Time Cross Trio for the win. But yeah, we were introduced further to the aliens, and they are the Kasaavin or the Kasaavin or something. It's spelled with two A's. I'm thinking it's like Kasaavin or something. But they are aliens from another dimension, alien spies, more or less. And they met up with the Doctor. The Doctor. They met up with the Master, and the Master is pretty. I think in some way that there is some level of hierarchy in like the Master's kind of plan to like more like from the way the Master explained it, like the way that group works. There is like some level of hierarchy or some level of like, you know, like what each player has to offer. Like, so the Kasaavin are one side, Barton is the other side, the Master is another side. So the Kasaavin are the ones with the resources, the ones with the ability to actually embed themselves across time and across space, the way that they do. So they're the ones actually able to spread themselves out on the map. Barton is the one able to give them the information. So if they need to, even in his speech, he said, you know, with Vor, he's able to access people's lives to pretty much the most intimate detail. Like his speech was very creepy and very invasive, like him saying, you know, thank you for, you know, carrying us in your pockets all these years and giving us, like, you know, all your credit card info, your passwords, your mother's maiden names, and, you know, just giving us the most intimate details to your life so that we can hack them and all that kind of stuff. So he's given them the ability to actually latch onto all the potential kind of people on Earth, all the people they can latch onto to change their DNA and to use them as hosts for their spy work and whatnot. So I mean, that makes me wonder if like latching onto those humans would give them more stable forms, because obviously, I mean, their problem was that they weren't stable enough in that universe to actually stick around properly. So that's part of the reason why we maybe like the forms of light that we saw weren't really complete forms. They weren't really able to move much with them, apart from, you know, like appearing all at once and then lunging at you. So maybe like, so then that makes me wonder if Barton himself was actually one of those, like one of the Kasaavin, but like inhabiting his body. So Barton was still perhaps there, you know, but he was just like he knew the power of the Kasaavin. He knew what the goals were, and he was still playing along anyway. He was still going along with their plan and agreeing with their agenda. So he was helping them infest themselves throughout the universe and throughout different periods of time and stuff. So he, I think the different periods of time stuff would be the Master, because he would be the one allowing them to actually travel throughout time with his TARDIS, and his TARDIS is his house pretty much. I think he didn't even, I think maybe I think in the Dr. Falls finale, I think maybe his TARDIS was what we saw him escaping in. Maybe, I don't know, but because I think the last time we saw his TARDIS, I think there's a chance it could have been that kind of like cylindrical silver cubicle that we saw with the sliding door and everything. I think when the TARDISes start off, that is what they all start off with. They're just like these round kind of elevators almost, and they have the sliding doors, and then they just go flying out through time. And that's when like an actual working TARDIS should have that kind of adaptation thingy, like where it like it analyzes its environment and then picks a appearance which blends in best with the environment and stuff. And the Doctors used to have that, and then the circuit broke or something, and then he just never bothered to fix it, or I don't know, something along those lines. But yeah, so his one is still his house, and I think the weirdest thing about that for me is the fact that his isn't bigger on the inside. Like the outside very much matches the inside. I mean, it doesn't really seem like his one has any kind of hidden secret rooms or compartments. I mean, maybe he feels he doesn't need it, but his one, it literally looks like a house spinning and traveling through the time vortex. It looks like a house on the outside with the red lights on the inside. You go inside, it's like, you know, it's not massive, it's not teeny weeny. It's actually the size of a house, pretty much. I don't know, that I mean, having followed the TARDIS as being bigger on the inside and all that stuff for so long, it just feels weird seeing it in like an accurate shape and size and form on the outside as the inside. It just feels weird seeing it that way. Like, you know, you open the door, it's like, great. So it looks like a house on the outside. It looks like a house on the inside, except for the massive kind of the console in the middle. Like except for that, it's I don't know. It feels weird, but But yes, the Kasaavin were the spies. Barton was the one giving them the information, allowing them to latch on to, all people of humanity. And the master, oh god, the master was the visionary, pretty much. I mean, that's how he saw himself anyway. He said, the Kasaavin and Barton, they don't have my vision. And his kind of trick was that, he was just going to have Barton and Kasaavin, the Kasaavin do the dirty work for him, actually latching onto humanity, changing them, erasing their DNA, and then once that work was done, he would destroy them, and then there'd be no humanity left, which reminds me, if anything, reminds me of back from the end of time, the Master's plan to use that gate that the guy had built, like the immortality gate or whatever. They tasked him with programming it to give the daughter immortality, but then the Master was doing his own little work behind the scenes, and he used the machine on himself, but then used it in a way that it latched onto all humans, and then it changed their DNA and appearances to match his own. So he created the Master Race, like the literal, the human race replaced with the Master Race. I mean, given that, I mean, him joining the Nazis kind of, seems fit in that sense. Like, everyone looks like him and he looks like everyone else and all that stuff. Everyone matches his appearance. And back then he wasn't blonde, but he was grey, and he had, he was white, and I think he had brown eyes, maybe green, I don't know, something, but he was a white guy. So it's like seeing him in the Nazi universe with the Nazi uniform the first time as well, felt weird. Like, really, would they really let someone of that skin color and stuff like join their ranks? But then he said, oh, it's like a perception filter or something. So he looks like them in the end. Don't know if it changes his face or just his skin color or something, but I don't know. He was there because he was tracking the Doctor, and I think what's kind of struck out to me with this is the fact that this Master seems a lot more maniacal. He seems a lot more hellbent on murder and revenge and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I have no idea what the classic Masters are like, what the Masters in Classic Who are like, if they're the same. I think I do remember from one of the regenerations there being like a little echo of one of the Masters being like die Doctor, die, and then doing like an evil laugh and stuff. So I think maybe all along perhaps he's had murderous intent. But I remember from John Sims' Master, I think the most, I think he wasn't. I mean, from what I remember, he wasn't so much intent on watching the Doctor die as much as he was destroying humanity and tearing humanity down to the last atom and making the Doctor watch it. I mean, he did fast forward the aging on the Doctor until he was like a Time Lord baby Yoda almost. But during that he wanted to see the Doctor die emotionally and mentally. He wanted to see, he identified the Doctor's love for the human race and Earth so much that he wanted to destroy the human race and make the Doctor watch as he did it. He didn't want to actually physically kill him. And then Missy, I think she was a lot more batshit crazy, seems modest. But I think she was pretty much for the most part the same way. She never really seemed to want to kill the Doctor, as opposed to watch him suffer. And I think maybe it's also just join her crusade as well. I think there was one episode where she had a line where she was like, I want my friend back. I want you to be the version of you that I knew you were before, and to join me and to be with me again and stuff like that. And then I think that's always been the core of their kind of relationship. The fact that on Gallifrey as kids they were best friends. It was I think it was when the Master went through the initiation, staring into the untempered schism, that the Doctor's speech playing during that. Some people went mad, some people killed themselves, some people ran away, stuff like that. And the Master was clearly one of the ones that actually went mad. So that was when their paths actually diverged and stuff, and he went down a much darker path than the Doctor did. But all along, I think for the most part, I think their relationship has remained kind of frenemy status. The Doctor's desperately always wanted the Master to be his / her kind of like better self. Like he wants to be able to save the master. He want like she wants to be able to save the master. She wants to be able to you know, make the master good again. But I think with this one, the one played by Sacha Dhawan, he's great. Oh, so much he's pulling off this new version of the master fantastically well. But I think it's just weird seeing him with so much more murderous intent, like willing like shrinking people down randomly and just kind of like having that kind of like that murderous thing to him. He's like, again, it's very much like a Joker to Batman vibe I'm getting. But it's like, you know, I mean with Joker and the Batman, I think comic wise, I haven't really read any to understand what the deeper relationship between them is like. If there's any actual, I mean, I know there's several murder attempts, but I don't know if the, I mean, with the Joker, I mean, he always knows that the like or at least half expects that the Batman will get out of it alive, and he always enjoys that competition. But with the Master, I think he seems like, you know, he actively wants the Doctor to die and as well as to suffer pretty much. I think the suffrage is still kind of there, but I think with this one, I think it's weird seeing him with so much murderous intent and actively wanting to kill the Doctor. So yeah, I think but I mean, if that is the route that they're going for, then I am looking forward to it, and it's especially because of Sacha Dhawan's amazing acting in this episode and at the end of the last episode, that I'm actually looking forward to seeing it, because like, you know, he doesn't make it too cliched. He doesn't make it like it's not like overacting. It's not really like unbelievable. Like he has a level of like craziness and like evilness to him. It's like, you know, he like you can tell he is the Master. He still has that kind of like you know, hatred for the Doctor and everything he holds dear, everything she holds dear to him. I think I'm still thinking of all the past Doctors. So I'm saying like he and him all the time. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the Master eventually was foiled. I think the Doctor did reveal that she was recording him when he was talking about how idiot wanting to take out the Kasaavin and Barton at the end of the whole plan, so they transported him back to their dimension, so he's trapped there. But that's not the last we'll see him. I do not believe for a second there's the last we'll see him. He'll find a way out. If anything, he'll strike another deal, or he'll try and find a way out somehow. And then we'll see him popping back again. I think he has to, I mean, given what we saw at the end of the episode, he has to be a bigger part of what this season is going to be like. But yeah, I mean, speaking of classic Who, Time Lord telepathy, I think the Doctor did mention it was a classic trick, so I'm assuming that means it is from like the classic Who era, but it's not something I've ever seen. I think mind-wise, I've known, like, I mean, the Doctor can wipe minds. I've seen that. I think the Doctor used to be able to like read minds as well. Like, I mean, with 10, it used to be a case of just like holding your head in his hand and reading your mind, and then with 11 and Craig, it was just like a massive headbutt, and he would just be able to read your mind. So there was that stuff. So mind reading, I think I was aware of, but like actual like telepathic communication. I mean, between Time Lords, it makes sense. So like they share that same kind of psychology and biology and whatnot. So, you know, it makes sense that they can connect. And like the initial connection on the Morse code machine was like being like that. The heartbeat of a Time Lord. Any Time Lord will be able to recognize that. And it's even in the theme tune of Doctor Who itself. It is like that for those 4 beats along with the do we do and everything. So that was cool to see. And something she knew that he would be able to recognize as well, like the 4 beats, the heartbeat of a Time Lord, would get him to respond back, and then they'd be able to connect across their mind. But I think Time Lord telepathy, I'm assuming that is a classic Who kind of trick. So neat that they brought that back. Neat that they brought it back. So I mean, I do think we might see the Kasaavin back, because actually no, we probably won't, because the Doctor did manage to say, like, you know, oh, I'm sending you back to your own race. This plane is protected and everything. To your own dimension even. This plane is protected. So I mean, she sent them back, but I think if she actually managed to confirm as to whether or not they were staying back or if they were locked out of this dimension, I think I might have missed that. But I don't think she. I think she probably did kind of mean it in a way that, you know, oh, I mean, I think maybe there's equal. I mean, in the case that I missed missed that detail, then there's equal likelihood that she just sent them back, taking away the threat for now, or actually sent them out and then made sure they stayed out in their own dimension. But I think maybe the same can't be said for the Master because they took him with them. I don't think the same dimension lock was applied to him. I think it's just because they took him with them as an act of revenge after finding out his secret that they actually took him with them. So I think he may well be able to find a way to get back to our universe, and also all manner of shit will ensue. So I mean, I do hope we see him again and actually see more of him. But he did reveal some more stuff about Gallifrey. So my query was confirmed. So Gallifrey is still in the bubble universe. I think we kind of saw that like at first the TARDIS was traveling into the time vortex, and then it entered some kind of like really kind of glitchy kind of void, which I assume was the bubble that Gallifrey lives in. And then she finally landed on Gallifrey, and she opened the doors. And the Master was right. Gallifrey was just right. And I think I even questioned it earlier in the episode, like, oh, when you say like Gallifrey's been destroyed and burned down, like, do you mean you did it? Did you kill all those people? Did you burn Gallifrey down? But she saw Gallifrey, like the citadel has collapsed, the glass shattered, everything's on fire. And you know, I mean, the planet itself looks orange. It has like an orange sky, like a burnt orange sky, according to the 10th Doctor. And everything looks like it's almost on fire anyway. So okay, it can be hard to tell in that sense. But Gallifrey itself, it looks pretty much like torn down, like not even war torn, but it's actually like destroyed pretty much as like an attack or an invasion. But then she did get like that like a little like kind of geo-activated communicator. So one that activated once the coordinates matched Gallifrey's did activate, and then a hologram came up with the Master saying that, you know, okay, so if you're seeing this, then you likely went to Gallifrey and you saw the truth. But then he did confirm that he did in fact destroy Gallifrey and kill all those people. But then so that means Gallifrey's destroyed, not gone, it's still there, like the planet's still there, it's still intact, but the city has been destroyed. The people have been killed off. I mean, he said he killed the people, but I mean, if like whether or not that meant all the people, because the Citadel is not the only place. I think the Citadel is one place, then we have Arcadia, I think, which is the second city of Gallifrey, so I think that they have other places, and we only saw the main Citadel, like the place with the dome over it. So yeah, like the sky trenches. I don't know if I mean, we didn't see. I mean, we saw basically a glimpse of Gallifrey. Like it wasn't like it wasn't the TARDIS hovering in the skyline and the camera panning over the entire planet. It was like a glimpse of what the Doctor saw. Maybe the Doctor herself only saw the Citadel, but it was enough for her to know the truth that Gallifrey was torn down and the people destroyed. But whether it was all the people or not, I don't feel like I want to jump to conclusions. I think maybe the majority are gone. Maybe like others kind of saw the Master's attack incoming and just took shelter and took cover, and then the rest of them died off. But I don't know. But Gallifrey is gone, or destroyed. Even the place has been wiped out and stuff. Like planet intact, people not so much, and the city not so much either. But he did say that I think he repeated his words from the end of the last episode, which was, you know, everything you know is a lie. And I think from that episode onwards, a lot of people were tweeting out about it and saying, you know, oh, is this like a hint of the Timeless Child? Because we saw, even when the Master mentioned the Timeless Child, like, you know, oh, the founding fathers of Gallifrey forced us to live a lie all based off of the Timeless Child. And then the Doctor herself had a flashback when she was on that other planet back in season 11. And you know, she heard those little drape things talking about the Timeless Child after looking into the Doctor's mind. So that was the only glimpse we got of that was the one mention we got of that, the Timeless Child, and then everyone was theorizing, and then we got no other mention, no other word after that. So now it's being brought back here. So now I think in this season the Timeless Child will be explored. So what exactly that is yet to be explored. But I think that there's like a bunch of different names I've heard as part of Gallifreyan lore, and especially as part of like the lore of the Time War, like stuff like the Skaro Degradations, the Nightmare Child, the Horde of Travesties, like stuff like David Tennant's Doctor mentioned in the end of time, like all the atrocities and the horrors of the Time War. But I think the Timeless Child could be one of Gallifrey itself, not exclusive to the Time War, but maybe some kind of connection to it. But the Timeless Child, I think, is maybe something to do with the Doctor herself. But yeah, apparently, according to the Master, he went to Gallifrey and he saw the truth, and he saw that, you know, him and the Doctor had been lied to their entire lives, and the founding father built those lies up from the ground, all based off of the timeless child. So exactly what that is, we've yet to see. But he said, you know, he wasn't going to tell her. He wasn't just going to make it easy for her because he suffered, so she should have to suffer as well. So I feel like the next time we come across anything Time Lord or Gallifrey related, the Master will be around for that. The Master will most definitely be around for that. It will be the best way to actually bring him back and allow him to integrate himself further into the season. As well as to, like, you know, as well as to actually allow the companions themselves some kind of exploration as to what the Doctor's history with Gallifrey is and what Time Lord really means. Because I think that is another thing I really enjoyed about this episode. The fact that, you know, so early on, from episode 2 pretty much, so early on in the season, the especially from like a story driven point of view, the Doctor is so open with her companions, because I think season 11, it put like almost pretty much borderline too much effort into actually like into allowing season 11 gave us more of a look of like the companions traveling with the Doctor as a traveler, of her, like, you know, taking them into all these situations, taking them to all these new planets and stuff, and then them saving the day as it went along. There was no real story arc in season 11 to follow. There was nothing, like, rumors and glimpses here and there, but nothing that ever felt truly fleshed out. Stuff that felt like, you know, little hints to be explored later on. But season 11 focused on the Doctor as a traveler, as someone traveling through space and time, trying to help people save the day, and then her companions were there for the ride. They offered their own services and stuff like that. But with this one, it's like, from the get-go, the companions are going to be able to get to know the Doctor as a person, what her history as a Time Lord is, and what Gallifrey is, and all that stuff, and actually explore the drama of the universe in depth. So starting that off with the Doctor actually being open with her companions, I believe, is the best way to go, and I really appreciate the fact that they did that. And the fact that Jodie's Doctor, the 13th Doctor, was so open about it as well. It's the fact that, you know, I mean, because we've had this issue with previous Doctors, especially in New Who, in modern day Doctor Who. We've had this issue, like, you know, Christopher Eccleston's, David Tennant's, Matt Smith's, Pete Peters. I mean, we've had, whenever there's been new companions, we've had that kind of issue, like with Martha's, or in Gridlock, like we had that issue of you know, Martha being like, you know, oh, you always talk, but you never say. You talk about the universe and how grand it is, but you never talk about where you actually came from, or who you are, or, you know, what happened to you to make you so stern sometimes and so serious and stuff. And then that's when he explains that, you know, okay, I'm not just the Time Lord, I'm actually the last of my people. There was a war, shit went to hell, pretty much, and I'm the last survivor, up until the Master comes on, of course. And then, you know, like, even with Smith and stuff, like, you know, he meets Amy and Rory, and it takes time for him to open up, and, like, you know, I think it is somewhat a representation, because all these Doctors, I think before Peter as well, before Capaldi's one, they were all Doctors who were suffering from the loss of Gallifrey, and like we learn in the Day of the Doctor what they did as the War Doctor, and like what kind of pain and emotional damage they're actually healing from, and why they're so distant to talk about, like why they're so hesitant to talk about Gallifrey, and why they're so distant from those memories, because, like, you know, because to pretty much all of his companions, because of what he does and what he has the TARDIS, he has this great machine, he goes around saving people's lives and everything, like, because of that, they see the Doctor as this great being that's really generous and compassionate and caring, and he's like the Doctor is essentially a hero, which is why, I mean, I think up until Capaldi's one, I think they all saw that kind of heroism as a way to kind of like distance themselves from the pain that they were holding from the aftermath of the Time War and aftermath of losing Gallifrey. So with Jodie's, I think with Capaldi's, his one was straight after the Day of the Doctor, so his one was more like knowing that Gallifrey was out there and it was still alive, thanks to him, that he changed his mind and he saved it instead. And And then with Jodie's, it's like, it's that arc has finished. Like, she's moved on from knowing that Gallifrey is still there. Even in Classic Who, there were plenty of Doctors who were around when the Time Lords were around. And they still went around their business. I mean, the Doctor is known among his own people as the Time Lord who actively disobeyed the rule of the Time Lords. The Time Lords, because of their power, they strictly adhered, or at least enforced that rule to adhere to the rules of observation only, never interfering in other people's in otherworldly affairs. But the Doctor was like, nope, just gonna steal this TARDIS and go save a bunch of people and just be the hero the universe needs. So with Jodie's one, it definitely started off like that, like her just being that traveller, just going around, finding herself in trouble and saving people along the way, and having companions as well. But with this one, I think that they are definitely delving back into the curse of the Time Lords and like what that name the Doctor means, and exactly what her history with her people and with her own like self is, pretty much, and like her actually. Oh, and I think it was nice to see her not really mumbling or hesitating or having like a long drawn out paragraph. She actually explained who she was. I'm the Doctor, come from Gallifrey, constellation of Cerberus, Time Lord, time traveling alien species, stuff like that. And those are all the basic details. It's not really like an essay, like a 5-paragraph essay on on everything she's done, like being a Time Lord. But I mean, it does leave the group open to more questions and stuff. And the first one I think was from Graham, like him being like, can we actually go to your home planet? Can we see what it's like? And her knowing exactly what she's seen, being like, another time. And I think, to be honest, like I think it was either Rose or Martha. They wanted to see Gallifrey as well and see what it was like. But I think especially Martha, she wanted to be able to go to the Doctor's planet and see what it was like. And then he was just like, like another time maybe, like always changing the subject and stuff. So yeah, like Gallifrey isn't really, as advanced and amazing and as grand as it all is. Like even in living form, the Doctor still kind of like sees it as like a curse of hers. Like the people there aren't really the kindest. They're not really the most kind of compassionate when it comes to other races. They kind of view the future, but then see all the fixed points and all the non-fixed points, but they still let things happen as they are, because they're like, with our power we can't really observe because we're not gods. We're like the keepers of time and all that sort of stuff. So, but she's been the one to be like, I'm not going to stand idly by and watch races die or watch any of this stuff happen. So she just goes out and does her own thing. But yeah, so the Timeless Child, I think I had a theory about this before, like back when it was first mentioned. I'm not entirely sure what it was though. I can't remember what my theory was, but I did have some. I think I do vaguely remember having some kind of theory as to what the Timeless Child could be. Like, maybe I don't know. Like, I have a feeling. I feel like the faintest feeling that it has something to do with. I mean, it has to do with the Doctor. It has to be something to do with the Doctor, because I think what it brings me back to is like back in Capaldi's season. Clara kind of indirectly meeting the child Doctor, the young Doctor in that barn, and then we hear the man and woman talking in the background and being like, that boy, that child, he will never make a Time Lord, he will never get into that university. So maybe it could be something to do with that, like the Doctor being the child of Gallifrey that went around disobeying the rules of time or the laws of time, or changing them, and inadvertently kind of disobeying time and changing time for his own gain, or changing time to match his own will, even if it was to do good, but still kind of disobeying the rules of time that the Time Lords themselves set. Could be something to do with that. Could be like another child of Gallifrey, maybe one that like maybe one that like wasn't fully Time Lord or something. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the theory. I had a theory, I think. Yeah. And I know it doesn't help when I say I think, because I either had a theory or I didn't, but I do vaguely remember theorizing on what the Time Lord could mean. I don't have my old notebook. It was in my old notebook. I don't have that notebook anymore. I threw it away. But yeah, Timeless Child, I mean, yeah, I think it could be something to do with that. It could be either to do with the Doctor herself being the one to disobey the rules of time set by the Time Lords and going about her own business and, you know, literally just throwing all rules of observation out the window and interfering, but in the act of interfering, saving the day. Could be about another, another child of Gallifrey who is maybe like a hybrid of some sort, or maybe didn't really adhere strictly to Time Lord laws or Time Lord or like Gallifreyan biology, or maybe it wasn't fully Gallifreyan, or maybe it wasn't fully like a Time Lord, something along those lines, or I don't know, like maybe I don't know, I'm thinking, but like that, I feel like the more I think about these things, the more far fetched they actually sound, and the more kind of, you know, impractical they are according to Time Lord physics and Time Lord laws and whatnot. But the Timeless Child, I think it definitely has to. I think for story's sake, I think it has to be something closely connected to the Doctor, or it has to be something to do with the Doctor directly. Could be something she's done, could be something that she was in a past life, or something that some version of her from a past life, like maybe some kind of like a set of ideals she used to follow that kind of like went far beyond like any Time Lord laws that she was used to. But yeah, apparently, but according to the Master, their lives are built on lies that the Founding Father used based off of the Timeless Child. So that angered him enough to want to burn Gallifrey down. So it must have been, I mean, knowing the Master is something that maybe he just didn't like, and then it kind of angered him beyond most. I think with the Doctor, I think we've seen what happens when she's angry at Time Lords. I think with Capaldi, when he was angry at the Time Lords, he just ignored them pretty much. But with the Doctor, I think, I don't know what could really happen. I feel like if like had she been the one to find out the truth behind the Timeless Child before the Master, I think she could have maybe protected Gallifrey from his wrath. But with the Master, he's just a pissed off baby in general. So he's very, very prone to anger. He's very prone to kind of lashing out and wanting to destroy things. So I mean, him kind of wanting to destroy Gallifrey after that, I mean, it's still insinuous that it's a pretty big and kind of impactful thing, but at the same time, it's like, you know, like anything that pisses him off even remotely. I mean, he didn't even have to be pissed off in that gallery. Like he basically shrunk all those people because he wanted to. So it doesn't really lend to the fact that you know, the like it doesn't really lend to the fact that he was that he was angry that the Timeless Child could be a bad thing. But again, I think the Doctor does have to kind of like work harder to actually figure out what the Timeless Child is and what it means for Gallifrey and what it means for what Gallifrey was. And I think Gallifrey being burned down definitely does kind of present her with another another obstacle of finding a way to bring Gallifrey back. Like if that means going back in time and stopping the Master, or if that means like finding a way to resurrect Gallifrey, or whatever happens. But we will see. We will definitely see. But yeah, I am definitely liking this new Master that the writers are giving us, that Christian was giving us, and I think he's it's an interesting. I think from what I've seen before, based on what I've seen before, this definitely does seem to be an interesting take on the Master. One who is aware of Gallifrey's re-entry into like our plane of it, like near enough our plane of existence, even if it's in a bubble universe. But yeah, this is still someone definitely new. And again, Sacha Dhawan, just a great performance by Sacha Dhawan. He's pulling off this master very, very well. So I do look forward to seeing more of him in the series. But yeah, that is pretty much all I have from this episode. I think it was good to see the companions themselves, like Yaz and Ryan and Graham actually getting along on their own, actually trying to track down Daniel Barton, actually using their own resources, like Graham and Ryan having kept around the spy stuff, like the laser shoe, like seeing Graham dancing around trying to set off the laser shoe was hysterical. And Ryan using the rocket cufflinks as well, that was cool. But even Yaz herself trying to maintain a level head and actually thinking in this situation, okay, what would the Doctor ask? What would she do? What would she say? What would she look for in the situation? Like, her maintaining that level-headedness is a very kind of Yazzie thing, like a Yaz-like thing to see. It's like Yaz is like a police officer as well. So even in those situations, like even when she comes up against like in a hostile situation, she has to maintain a level head. She has to be tactical with her thinking. She has to think about what to do, like carefully, and actually try and get the best out of a negative situation. So this is definitely like her, and but yeah, just like seeing the companions themselves holding their own. As best as they could against Barton and against the Kasaavin was just a really cool thing to see, and it shows that, you know, after traveling with the Doctor, after seeing all they've seen, after battling all they've battled, these companions are very much kind of field ready. Like without the Doctor, they can definitely think for themselves and they can hold their own. So they're definitely kind of useful in those situations. They can still definitely kind of get the job done. They want to get the job done on their own whilst the Doctor is handling things on her own end. So yeah, that was still cool to see. But yeah, I think for now, I don't know. I'm kind of still racking my brain to see if there's anything I missed out on. But yeah, I think this brings a nice end to the Spyfall two-parter arc that we've seen, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else we get from this series and how the story is progressed, and what more, like what other questions the companions have for the Doctor. I think Graham himself, he has been kind of skeptical. I mean, from the beginning he was skeptical about the Doctor mentioning that she was a man before, and even with the Master saying that, you know, I crossed paths with her briefly when she was a man. I think I would have hoped that, you know, I mean, she did. I mean, at the end of the episode, she did say, along with the Gallifreyan Custodes information, she did say, you know, yeah, I did used to be a man, but it's because of this thing I have called regeneration that allows me to change my body and stuff. So it allows her to change her face as well. But I think it would be an interesting thing for her to show Graham and Ryan and Yaz all the different faces she's had over the years and all the different lives she's lived and all the enemies she's faced and all the companions she's had. I think it was like a hidden scene or like a deleted scene or something of the 11th Doctor inadvertently showing Amy all of his previous companions, all the people he's travelled with over the years, and the vast majority of them being female. So I think it would be kind of like a nice twist of the Doctor showing Yaz and Ryan and Graham all of her faces being overwhelmingly male. But definitely being a Time Lady is a very nice upgrade. One that Jodie Whittaker herself is just executing flawlessly. I love her as the Doctor, and I feel like this season will allow people to fall in love with her even more. But just always looking forward to seeing more Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. She's doing great, and her and Sacha, especially her and Sacha, kind of bounce off each other chemistry wise so well as the Doctor and the Master, and they really kind of work off each other well, and they have that kind of great kind of actor to actor dynamic that really works well for the Doctor and the Master. So again, can't wait to see him back again, to see him working against the Doctor in this case. But yeah, I think it's kind of like expectable questions from the companions, you know, what were your previous faces like? What kind of companions have you had in the past? What planets have you visited? What aliens have you battled? All that sort of stuff. Because we had a Dalek coming back in Resolution, so seeing stuff seeing other enemies back in this, seeing older enemies back in this would be cool. Like seeing the Cybermen or the Slitheen or the Jadoon. Or other stuff would be really cool too. So yeah, but that is pretty much all I have from this episode. I think, is there anything else? Just racking my brain now, because afterwards I'm going to think more and more about the episode after I finish recording, and then I'll be like, oh, I could have mentioned this, I could have mentioned that. So is there anything else I want to mention? I don't think so. But yeah, I think no. This was just a really great two-parter to watch. A really great way to introduce this new season and to show us what we're up against in terms of the Master, and the Timeless Child coming back is, I think, the the Timeless Child being mentioned in season 11 was like a great big kind of mystery that people wanted to be solved and people couldn't wait to see solved. So seeing them bring that back, now we have some semblance of a story in this season. So that is that is something I'm excited for more than anything, to see Jodie's Doctor actually going through a story each episode and actually having it culminate to an actual season arc. Having something to follow, having something to speculate on is really, really cool. So seeing how that actually impacts the Doctor and her companions as time goes on is just something I really want to see how it all unfolds, and seeing the actual writing quality this season so far going good and going great. So hopefully seeing that improve over time and actually seeing it being carried on. So yeah, that is pretty much all I have from this episode. So that was Doctor Who Season 12, Episode 2, titled Spyfall, Part 2. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then salt and burn that like button. Comment what you thought of the episode and what you think is coming up next in the season. And yeah, that's it. So, I will see you guys next time.